this lesson I'm going to show you my technique, and I have a couple of different, well, 2 or 3 different ways of painting, and it depends the technique that you use. It depends on your personal preference, of course. As you can see, I have strengthened the pencil lines because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see. But when you actually do the final project, you need to have very, very light pencil line. You need to be able to just about see your pencil line, because otherwise it would show through the watercolor. Okay, so I'm going to show you with this sort of, we can call it round leaves. So I'm going to use a green color. I have a number 1 brush here, and I'm going to pick up some green. So sometimes I like to, when it's a small space, I like to just work wet and dry. So the paper is dry. I'm just going to apply some color, maybe pick up a little bit more. So I apply it on one side, like this, and then what I do is I dip the brush a couple of times, put it here on the side, maybe touch it once on your paper towel, and then you can pull the color like that. So as you can see, it's making it a bit lighter. And then what you can do is dip the brush again, squeeze it on the side, and maybe touch it once, because otherwise there will be too much water, and keep pulling the color towards the light or the lighter side of your leaf. And then again, every time you do that, you take some pigment off your brush, so you will be left eventually with just water on your brush. And okay, so you get this effect here. So that's one way. And if you don't like sort of the way it turns out, so if you want more dark on this side, you can wait until it dries completely and then apply another layer. But don't keep touching it now, because it will sort of ruin your layer. And then another way to do this, which I like to do, is to actually use another brush. So let's see, I'm going to take a number 2 brush, and what I do is I'll wet this brush, and I love it damp, so I wet it and touch it on the paper, then pick up the color again. So let's put it in the same place like we did before. And then with a damp brush, just sort of diffuse the color like this. Okay, something like that. It works better when it's a smaller space, this type of technique. And then another technique is wet and wet. So I'm going to put some water, just clean water, on the leaf here. Okay, and then when you look at it against the light, it needs to be sort of shiny but not too wet. You can't really see it on camera, I think, maybe there. So it needs to be shiny but not completely wet, and then you pick up the color and you drop the color and allow it to just flow like that. So it works best on bigger surface this one, and then with your damp brush you sort of push the color a little bit towards the lighter part of your leaf or petal or whatever it is that you are painting at the moment. And as you can see, because this surface is a bit bigger, actually this one works a bit, this technique works a bit better. And of course you can always keep adding layers to this. So I can show you some of the smaller leaves. So let's see, maybe this one. Let's move that a little bit. So I can put some color on this side. Like that, and then with a damp brush just touch in between like the paper and when the paint is, and then rinse your brush again, touch it on the paper, and just keep going towards the lighter part. All right, and then we can do, and the advantage of this method with two brushes is you don't have to keep rinsing your brush with the paint, so you don't lose any paint. And I quite like it when it's a small space like this, is working quite good. Okay, so just make sure that this is not too dry, the layer. And then just with a damp brush, help the paint spread towards the light. Okay, we can try it with the flower. So just gonna rinse the brush. Let's see, let's do one of these blue flowers. Okay, so let's put some paint in here. It's the same principle. And then with the damp brush, you sort of help the paint move towards the light. And let's do another one. And then the brush needs to be just damp. It shouldn't have water in it, because if it has water then it would push the paint and make like a blooming effect. All right, so that's the technique for this. And then it would be the same for all the different elements, but then I want to show you how I do the mushroom, which is a larger area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the wet in wet,